Hey guys, welcome back. I know it has been a while, but I am so excited. I'm so full of energy. I'm bursting with energy, and I'm so excited to be here. I would love to take this time to welcome you to the number one place for super busy and super tired parents, where I help you get the most done using the little time that you do have, while skipping the frustration and the guilt. If this is your first time here, welcome. You're going to learn so much about time management, managing your schedule as a parent. If you are a repeat viewer, thank you so much for being here. In today's video, we will be focusing on distance learning. Now, I know you've heard a lot. You've probably overwhelmed. You don't want to hear any more about distance learning, but distance learning will be here for a few more weeks for a lot of us, and even for the rest of the school year for many of you. So I just want to take some time to share some tips and tricks, some things that actually worked for me and my son and my family as we navigate through distance learning. So if you are someone that has someone at home that is distance learning, you are taking care of someone that's distance learning, then this video is for you. If specifically you are not able to stay home with this child and you have to go to work and you're not available to be there with them through this, then this video is especially for you. So keep on watching. So I have a number of tips that I'm going to share with you that I know will help you tremendously, whether you are a teacher, parent, or anyone that's looking over someone that has to go through distance learning. So the first tip that I want to share with you is get creative. Now, the first few days that my son and I went through distance learning, I was at work and he was at home with another caregiver. This caregiver is also working, so my son is essentially working independently. This means that he doesn't have a lot of guidance. He's pretty smart. He's good with technology and he can do it himself, but he doesn't have a lot of guidance. It was kind of rough for us, Before he actually was alone, I took 2 or 3 days off from work so that I can actually go through the process of showing him what to do, logging on, passwords, and all that stuff. And honestly, I thought that would be enough time. I thought that would be okay for him and he would do okay. But I found out once I went back to work that he wasn't doing okay. And it's not so much that, he was goofing off. The teacher wasn't really, how can I say this? The teacher was not really sure of a lot of the processes and procedures. Technology was not on their side. And so there was a lot of bumps. There were a lot of bumps along the way, and it was very difficult. So what I did was I would be on the phone at work, with the teacher, with my son, with the person that was watching at home. And it was chaotic because we're like texting each other, forwarding messages, calling, and it was just a chaotic mess. And I did this for like the first 3 days. So I spent the first 2 days at home with him. And then when I went back to work for the first 3 days, I did this. We were messaging, calling, sending emails, and it was just a chaotic mess. So I had to get creative. I thought, what could I do to stay on top of this so that no one's frustrated? I know what's going on and I don't have to spend so much of my time actually working through this process. So this is when I decided that I was going to get all of the logins, emails, credentials, passwords, everything that he needed to log on with. I was going to get those and log on too. Now, I know you're wondering, okay, get to the point. What did you do? So I actually started my day as a student so that I could see what my son was experiencing as a student. So I would sign on the Zoom classes. I would follow along with the teacher so that if he missed a step, I could actually tell him where to go and what to do, because there's so much things for them to log on to. It's not just Zoom, it's Google Classroom. It's not just Google Classroom, it's Clever. It's not just Clever. It's like 4 or 5 different sites that they need to navigate as first graders. And so I had to actually put myself in the seat of the student, my son, so that I can see what was happening and I can kind of catch these things before they went out of control. So that's what I would advise you to do. In a nutshell, get the passwords, usernames. You sign on as the student so that you can see which steps they have to take. And if they mess up, if they have questions, you can be there to jump in rather than sitting on the sidelines being completely clueless and flustered at work, because you don't want that experience, right? I don't, so I'm pretty sure you don't. Now, I have a weird feeling that you may be thinking that I'm a helicopter parent. I have a weird feeling that you may be thinking, oh my God, this girl is like insane. She's like doing too much and she is basically babysitting her kid while she's at work. And honestly, in the beginning, I felt this way too. But once I explained to the teacher what I was doing, she understood. And then she was able to help me navigate this whole creativity session that I had going on. And after a few days, I didn't need to do that anymore. After a few days, I did not need to sign on because he knew exactly what to do. All the technical kinks were worked out, and his teacher felt very comfortable with the new process. So if I were you, if you're still having these troubles and you're at work, I would go ahead and do that. Tip number 2 for successful distance learning is preparation. Now, I know you've heard this so many times. If you fail to prepare, you're basically preparing to fail. I know that you've heard that so many times before, but it is so true, especially in this instance, because there's so many moving parts. You're going to work, kids staying home or going to daycare. Like, the whole situation is changing. Maybe they're doing a hybrid model where they're going for 2 or 3 days at school and staying home for the other days. So things are really rocky, uncertain, and shaky. And so you need to make sure that you are prepared. The key thing here about being prepared is once you have a schedule and you're prepared, you know exactly what's happening. And if something shifts or changes, you know exactly how to alter the situation to make sure that you are prepared. Now, be prepared. A lot of people say be prepared, get prepared. But what does that actually mean? What can you do? What practical tips can you actually practice to make sure that you are adequately prepared for success? Let's talk about that for a second. Meals. So meals. My son, again, like I said, I go to work and he's somewhere independent at school. Well, not at the building, but he's at home. He's without me and he's not at school. So I need to make sure that his meals are prepared. I need to make sure that the family's meals are prepared. So let's take it meal period by period. So breakfast, we want to make sure that it's something that's easy and quick that he can easily make by himself. And that could be anything from cereals to breads, things that he can make by himself. Spreads, breads, cereals, those things are ideal for kids that are independent enough to make them themselves. You can also look at options that they can reheat. Now, a great thing for you to reheat is oatmeal, cream of wheat, waffles, pancakes, those type of things you can make the night before, a few hours before, and the child can reheat them in the morning. The same goes for lunch. So what we do for lunch is basically we take the leftovers from dinner and we make it lunch. Funny story, my son hates this because he just cannot wrap his mind around the idea that he's eating dinner for lunch. He just doesn't like it. But sometimes we're able to convince him to do that. And if I were you, I would do the same. Otherwise, sandwiches, wraps, peanut butter and jelly, with a fruit, banana, apple. These type of things are great for lunch. They're not going to make your child super tired. They're not going to pump them up with sugar. They're going to be nutritious and get them on the right track to get back to school after lunch. Snacks you can take out the night before. Same way, apples, bananas, fruits. You want to give them fruits and nuts, vegetables, things that they will not get too tired and too amped up after to go back to school. So this is what I would advise you to do. For dinner, we normally cook, 3 out of 5 nights a week. And that's because we eat a lot of leftovers. We eat leftovers for lunch, and if there's more, we eat it for dinner again. And we eat it until it's basically done. Now, you don't have to eat the same thing over and over and over. You can make it different. So if you have chicken, you can make a chicken salad. You can make chicken sandwiches. You can go, there's a lot of different things that you can do with chicken. You don't have to eat it the same way, but if you can prepare it once and then retweak it in several different ways to make sure that your family's not getting too bored with what you're eating. So you can definitely prepare meals. Preparing meals will help you so much so that you can actually save a lot of time and stress and frustration during the week. Now, helicopter parenting. I mentioned helicopter parenting in the beginning of the video. And for those of you that don't know what it is, just imagine a parent that's always on top of their kids. Some people agree with this, some people don't. I find myself in the middle, and I find that being a helicopter parent in this time of distance learning is needed. And here is why I say that. I don't know about your kids, but my kids have never done distance learning before. So this is a completely new thing to them. So I, of course, like I told you, I went onto the classroom in the beginning and I pretended to be a student and I showed up, my face was on the Zoom screen just so that I can see what's going on. I can help my child navigate instructions, breaks, recess. They have a schedule that they're not used to. So I would actually sit in to make sure that I was understanding what he needed to do. Now, throughout the day, I would just log on to his portal because I can see what he's done and what he still has to do. And I can tell him, I can call him and be like, hey, I know you said you're done with school, but you're not really done with school because I can see X, Y, Z, and it's still on your list of things to do. So I need you to get back on the portal and do this, and then you can play. So I can stay on top of things. Also, when I get home, I can actually check that with him. I can go through and see what he's actually done. So my advice would be to helicopter parent until you feel confident enough in your child that they can actually carry out the task without you. There's a cliche statement in the business world that goes, inspect what you expect. And basically this means keep checking up on that kid until you are sure that they can fly without you. Because if they for a second realize that you're not paying attention and you don't care, most kids at this age, they will continue to goof off. Now I have another point that's going to help you tremendously with distance learning. And this point is for the parents that must go to work. Now, there are a couple of options, and I would suggest getting with people in your neighborhood, family, or church that have the same situation as you. This means that they too have kids that need to stay home and they have to go to work. And you guys can form a portal. What that means is that you can take turns watching each other's kids. So if I was off today, I would watch 5 kids along with mine. If you're off tomorrow, you do the same. And this can save you a little bit of money and headache. Now, I want you to be careful because a lot of places do not allow homeschooling. Like they do not allow other people to homeschool other people's kids. Like that could be considered illegal. But if someone else is giving the instruction, it's not necessarily homeschooling. But you just want to check that to make sure that you don't get tied up in anything illegal. But if it's distance learning, in its basic sense, that someone else is giving your child instruction and not the person watching them, then it's not really considered homeschooling or illegal. There's a difference between homeschooling and distance learning. Then finally, of course, you have the option to pay for someone to watch your kids. But if you cannot afford to pay someone and you can't afford to watch someone, I would highly suggest talking with your employer. Now, there may be a policy that you cannot bring your kids to school, but it never hurts to ask. And no, it's just a word, right? So just ask them. You never know what they may say. You never know what they may come up with. This is not something common. This is not something average. These are different times. So I'm pretty sure that they can make some sort of suggestions for you or some sort of accommodation for you. So I would encourage you to talk to your employer about bringing your child to work. You never know. So I hope that you guys are following me. I hope that you guys have all the tips. Yeah, I want you to go ahead and grab a pen and paper. If you need to stop this and play it back, that's fine too. You can go ahead and do that just so that you can take notes. If any of this sounds overwhelming, you're like, oh my goodness, how am I going to schedule this stuff? How am I going to get this down packed? Then I do encourage you to visit me at www.alexandriasayresgrant.com. I do have a one-on-one coaching program that is launching. Maybe a good student for that program if you find any of this overwhelming and you're just up to here with scheduling and planning your life as well as the life for your family and friends. Now, I also want to encourage you to get creative with your space. So make sure that the space where your child is learning, it's clean, it's creative, and it's fun. Make it entertaining. Make it the same place every single day. You don't have to have a home office. If you don't have a home office, just designate a space in their room or somewhere in your home that they know this is where I'm going to be learning every day. And I challenge you, if your child is old enough, which in my opinion, if they're 3 and above, they can clean up after themselves. And the older they are, the more they can do. So make sure at the end of the day, they know to tidy up their workspace. Now, just be warned, if this is something that your child has never done before, they're not used to cleaning up after themselves, if you suddenly start telling them to do this, they will probably resist for a while. But if you remain consistent and persistent, I'm pretty sure that they will eventually get the idea that they need to clean up after themselves. I trust that this video is providing a lot of value for you, but I want to talk a little bit more about schedules again. And again, if you need help with scheduling and planning and time management, be sure to join my one-on-one coaching program by checking out the download that will be in the description of this video. So once you send that download in, you will definitely be on the wait list for the one-on-one coaching program, and you will get the download in your inbox. But let's talk about schedules for a minute. Remember that when children are in school, they have a schedule, a very strict schedule. They do this thing at this time, this subject at that time. They have recess at the same time every day. They have music classes on the same day every week. Like, there is a schedule for kids, and there is a reason for that. They thrive among routines and schedules. So I would advise you to first of all start with the big chunk of the day, which is school. So from 9 to 3, whatever time they go to school, your child needs to know what he will be doing at each hour between that time period. And if I were you, I would go outside of that time period. So from you wake up in the morning, what should you be doing? Brush your teeth, brush your hair, wash your face, get ready, take a bath, whatever that means for you in the morning. Have breakfast. You need to get that schedule for your child. After school, they need to know what they should be doing. Are you going to allow them to go outside? Should they clean up their workspace? Should they help prepare dinner? Should they set the table? Should they check over their work from the day? Should they do homework? So this period outside of the regular school time frame from 9 to 3, you need to schedule right up until bedtime. And this will for sure help your child to know exactly what they should be doing and when they should be doing it. So if you have any questions again on scheduling, I would advise you to check out this video here. And guys, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I trust that you will be back to learn more about parenting, scheduling, and time management. In the meantime, I want you to be bold. I want you to be great. And oh my dear, you be beautiful.